Okay, I think we're live. Oh, this is clearly the first time I have done this. So I hope that you guys will all just bear with me. Alrighty. Okay. Can somebody please put in the chat that you can see me and that you can hear me, please? I just want to make sure that all is going well before I get started. Anyone? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. Appreciate that. All right. Well, welcome. And thank you, Andrea. Thank you. Welcome to my very first YouTube live. I have to admit, this feels super weird. Usually when I do Zoom calls and my monthly meetups with my patrons, I actually have my patrons there to see and that I can talk to. So it's kind of weird. I'm just kind of talking to myself almost, which, I do all the time anyway, but I don't usually look at myself when I do it. So this is a little weird for me, but thank you all so much. I'm so glad that you are here. So just to give a little bit of information about me, in case you don't know who I am, my name is Christine. I'm also known as the Glambassador, and I have been dressing in vintage for over 30 years. I started when I was about 15 or 16 years old, and I'm going to be 50 in March next year. So, oh, and there's Miss Mildred. You'll probably see her popping in and out. So yeah, I have been dressing in vintage for a really long time. And about 2013, I started my blog, Chronically Overdressed. And that's kind of how I got into content creation. I was sharing photographs and all kinds of information about plus size vintage wearing and just fashion, beauty, hairstyles, all that fun stuff. So yeah, and then in 2020, I started this YouTube channel when, of course, COVID hit and I lost my job and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I started this YouTube channel. And so, yeah, here I am. And here you all are. I really appreciate it. So tonight is just going to be a little bit of, I have my kind of theme. If you see me looking over off to the side, I have my notes off to the side here. So I have some things that I want to talk about, but I've also wanted to kind of open it up to questions of anything that you guys want to know about vintage fashion or beauty or lifestyle, even content creation, if you have questions on any of that stuff. I do have a few questions that people had left me over on Instagram that I'd like to get to as well. So yeah, so basically I just kind of want to start off with, what vintage living means to me. It's more than just fashion. I mean, as you can see, my home, I collect vintage furniture and trinkets and decor. I like to have, vintage surrounding me at all times. So that's, I started dressing in vintage when I was younger, but I also really started to collect things here and there. Obviously, I wasn't, I didn't have my own house until I was a little bit older. But I did always like going vintage shopping and going to flea markets. So, over the course of my life, I've collected lots and lots of things. And just, I've been so fascinated with the history side of things, but also just, what items people used, what, how their furniture was made. My grandfather, he owned a furniture store in San Diego for a really long time. So I was always really interested in, the construction of beautiful, wood pieces and all of that. So, so I like to surround myself with vintage items as well. Although I don't really stick to a particular era, I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to my decor style. We have, anything. We have mid-century, we have Victorian, we have some medieval, we have Art Deco, Art Nouveau. So yeah, pretty much anything that just tickles my fancy, I will get, and I will, find a place for it in my home. So, so, and then it also kind of shows up in just my daily life with some of my routines. I sit at my vintage vanity, and I get ready for the day. I like to take my time and get ready. It's part of my ritual of the day. It gets me going and, helps me feel better. I do like to try and get ready every day. I feel better when I have my hair and my makeup done and, wearing a nice vintage outfit. I just feel better that way. So I'm not saying that there aren't days that I am totally just a potato on the couch and I don't have makeup on. I don't wear, do my hair or anything like that. There's definitely days for that. But for the most part, I do try to get ready just because I know I feel better when I get ready. So, so I guess before I go on, is there any, I'm going to look through the chat really quick and see if there's any questions that anybody has. Oh, wow. You guys are all from, we've got London and Austria, Frankfurt, Pennsylvania even. Fantastic. Wow, you guys are just from all over the place. This is amazing. Wow, look at that. So yeah, drop if there's any questions at all that you have that you want to know about. I am happy to answer that. From California. I'm from California originally. You're in Virginia, but you are a California native. That is fantastic. Awesome. You guys are just from all over the place. I love it. All right. So since there's no questions right now, I do have a couple of questions from some of my Instagram followers that I can start off with. Let's see. So how to make the change from full to full vintage? Do you do small changes or boom, pin curls, red lipstick and all? That is actually a really good question. And of course, it is completely personal. Okay, am I back? Am I back? Please tell me I'm back. Oh my goodness. Yay, I'm back. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Oh, wow. Okay, that was fun. Yay, Viennese internet. Way to go. Yay. Okay. Well, I have no idea where I dropped off. So I'm going to start that question again, I guess. And we can go from there. And if it's information that you already heard, then that's great. So the question that I had was how to make the change to full vintage. Do you make small changes or boom, straight to pin curls, red lipstick and all? So most people, I was saying that especially the people that I work with in my style sessions that ask about this, they are more concerned about the people in their lives. So their family, their friends, they they may or may not be receptive to a full fast fashion change like that. So in that case, I think it can be beneficial to kind of dole out the vintage in small increments. But, that's really just kind of placating the people in your life. So it really depends on how important that is to you. I've worked with people who've, friends and family has just kind of, they've been made fun of, they've had a hard time with that. So I think kind of starting small and adding little bits and little elements into it, especially if you kind of stay in the more classic kind of styles that's not super vintage, but more just a classic style that people are more comfortable with, I guess. You can do that. So, and then also the other thing is that if you are wanting to go vintage, it takes time to collect that stuff, all of the, your clothing, and learn how to do the hair, learn how to do the makeup and all of that. So I honestly don't know if it is possible to, do like a full boom. I'm, coming out one day that I'm completely vintage. I feel like if you've been collecting enough clothing and accessories and all of that stuff, you're going to want to wear that. You're not going to just set it aside in your closet. You definitely want to wear that. So, yeah, but as much as how much you want to present yourself in that way, it's really very personal, and it depends on, how comfortable you are, because there's a good chance that you might get a little, blowback from it. So yeah. And, it really just depends on how comfortable you are and how your confidence in that. So I know for myself, I started with just wearing brooches. But again, I was 16 years old, so I didn't really know what to do or how to do any of it. I just know I liked it. So I was collecting brooches, and then I would add in a few vintage pieces here and there, and mixing them with, more of my modern pieces. And then I think I was probably around 20 or so. I was in my 20s when I went full fledged vintage and decided, like, this is it. I don't want to have any modern clothing. This is the style that I want. So, yeah, I think it's different for everybody. All right. Wow, you guys are having a fantastic time here in this chat room. I am going to, let's see. Where are we? Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to read through. Yes, there does seem to be a lot of Californians and former Californians. That is amazing. I'm originally from San Diego. I see someone's from Bakersfield. Oh, hey, Jane, I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, so Jane says, well, you guys can read this, but her husband was concerned about her treatment when in public, when starting Edwardian every day. Yeah, I think some of the later, Edwardian, Victorian, anything like that, because it's really not in the, I don't know, I guess when people see kind of 30s, 40s, 50s, it's still newer in a sense that, we kind of recognize it. Our grandparents, our parents were around during that time. So it doesn't seem so far away. But yeah, Edwardian and Victorian is definitely more of a showstopper when you see somebody on the street in that in that era. But you know, if I were to add in another era to my wardrobe, Edwardian would 1,000% be it. I just love it. It's so beautiful, and I applaud Jane for doing that. It's just such a beautiful look. I absolutely love it. And you know, it's funny because I find that there is a lot of elements in Edwardian and with like kind of 20s and 30s. Again, it's, you know, it's closer to those eras, but like in the hair, I find that, you know, like finger waves were such a big thing, like for so long, that there's a lot of, I don't know, I think you could really kind of combine the eras of the 1930s with Edwardian pretty seamlessly if you're, you know, if you're comfortable being anachronistic with mixing eras and everything, which I definitely am. I have no problem with that. So, okay, let's see. Let's move on a little bit. Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk about balancing modern life with, you know, our old-fashioned or vintage style. And Jane, yes, I'm nodding along like you can see me. I can see you. I can see you. I know you're there. I can feel it. So if you've seen my series, I started a series, Vintage Living in the Modern World. And I really wanted to kind of combine those things of as much as I would love to, in a way, kind of live that daily vintage life. I love my modern conveniences, and I would not want to go back and live in those times for various reasons. So I love the, you know, the combining of our modern times and our modern conveniences, our modern technologies. Obviously, I would not be able to have this wonderful community with you guys and be talking to you if we weren't sitting in 2025, right? So I don't live my life as if I'm in the 1940s or the 1930s or the 1950s. That is not how I live my life. And, you know, I talked about this a little bit on one of my videos that I absolutely refuse to do those videos of the, you know, a day in the life of the 1950s housewife, because it's not me. It's not my life. It's not the way that I live. And I'm not a caricature. I'm not. So I'm not going to play that role in a video. So I absolutely don't do that. I would be happy to do just kind of a day in the life of me, of a modern vintage enthusiast, I suppose. But yeah, I don't like to do that. So I love the idea of kind of melding those worlds of, you know, living in a modern world with modern tools, but still carving out space for slowness, for, you know, slowing things down and maybe doing things in a more vintage way. You know, not always relying on modern conveniences. And there's I don't know, I think that there's some way doing things, like I'm thinking just about in the kitchen in general, doing things the more vintage way kind of gives you an understanding of how that thing was created. If we rely too much on technology and the modern things, it's done quickly. We don't really get the connection there. We don't really know how it was done and all of that. So yeah, so having that, you know, kind of taking the time to slow down. And, you know, I definitely learned a lot when I started to make my own bread, just really understanding how the bread works, how the yeast and the water and the salt and everything and the flour all mix together. It was really eye-opening for me that, so, being able to carve out some space to kind of slow down a little bit. And yeah, I just, I like that aspect of it. Um, Obviously we all have smartphones and everything, but, writing letters, writing, handwriting notes, handwriting even just like your shopping list or something like that, like taking the time to kind of slow things down. Um, I don't know what Miss Mildred is doing. She's just running back and forth. Just, I don't know, it kind of gets you back into that vintage feel, I guess. I definitely have, like one foot in the past and one foot in the future or in the present. And, you just kind of have to make peace with that and to figure out that balance that works well for you. I definitely want to say yes to some conveniences. But I also want to protect my vintage inspired rituals. So, just learning how to create some of that balance is, I think, really important. Okay. So I'm going to read through some of these comments. Okay. Oh, we have a question. Yay. Okay. So any advice when your hair has a mind of its own? I never know what it wants to do. Thick, wavy. I never really have control. I understand. I have thick, very, very, very curly hair. My hair is naturally like 3B type. So very curly, very prone to frizz, and dry. So yeah, it's so many times when I'm doing my hair, I have an idea of what I would like to do that day, but 9 times out of 10, my hair tells me what to do. Usually those ideas just go right out the window. So I suggest that you have at least three favorite hairstyles that you do really, really well, that you have practiced, you have, you know how to do them blindfolded. And you always have those core hairstyles that no matter what your hair is deciding to do, you can turn to those hairstyles. Once you have those 3 down pat, like you've got those in the bag, then you can start kind of playing around with trying out different hairstyles and seeing, new ones that you like or anything like that. But at least you have those 3 core styles that you can always turn to when your hair is not cooperating. My hair was not cooperating today because my husband and Mildred and I went on a really, really long walk this morning and I got sweaty. So my hair is, totally frizzed out. And so I just had to kind of work with what I had and, just kind of put it up in I can turn around. I don't know how much you can see. How it is. I actually have a tutorial on this hairstyle that's coming out tomorrow on my video. So, but yeah, it's, sometimes you just kind of have to give in to what your hair wants or is going to show you, how it wants to be. But I really highly recommend you have kind of, I don't know, you can think of them as your signature hairstyles even, but 3 that very, very well, that are comfortable, that are quick for you, and always have those in the bag just in case. So, okay, let's see. What else do we have? All right, so I think some people get rattled seeing something out of the norm. Agreed. There's a sense of jealousy that someone is veering from the social rules. when you don't know how to, and when you don't follow the rules. I agree. I absolutely agree. I think there's I think I agree with you on the jealousy thing, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's more of that, like, you are non-conforming, and there's so many people that don't like the non-conforming, that's why it's called alternative. We are technically in that alternative realm when it comes to dressing, because it's not the norm. It's not what everybody else is wearing. Even though it's funny because, like, what we wear is exactly the same thing, or like exactly the same style that all women wore not that long ago. So it's not like it's, we're not walking around in loincloths, we're like not walking around as a caveman. So yeah, but I agree with you. It's, it's out of the norm. People kind of, they're going to look at you. There's, of course, that saying of, people are going to look, so give them something to look at. That's, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, I find that very interesting. Okay, so any advice for sweaty workout folks? My set never survives after a workout. Yeah, I've talked about this a little bit before. I am definitely not the expert on this because I hate sweating. And I do everything in my power to not do activities that make me sweat. So I'm not a heavy, like, I don't work out heavily, but if I go on walks, it's quite warm here in Vienna right now. So I'm going to sweat, and I have a lot of hair. So it just, I don't know if you guys ever saw Napoleon Dynamite, where, Pedro's like, my hair's making my head hot. That's, yes, that's me. But I've heard from other people that if you kind of put your hair in even loose pin curls before you work out, I know this is going to sound disgusting, but if you put your hair in loose pin curls and you work out and you kind of, you're going to sweat, and that's going to reactivate the breaking of the hair bonds. Anytime your hair gets wet, it's going to break those hydrogen bonds. If you guys have seen my wet set video, that's how your hair curls in a wet set. So if that's going to happen, your hair is going to get wet from sweat. You want to put it in the shape that you want it to come out eventually. And that's either a pin curl, or if you want to put in rollers, that's up to you. And then just make sure that your hair has dried completely. Yeah, it's going to dry with sweat, but so that's one way to do it. And you can either, kind of dry it in the pin curls using a hair dryer. If you have like a bonnet dryer, you can do something like that. Just make sure that the hair is completely dry again before you brush it out. Because if you brush out your hair when it's wet, you're going to lose the set completely. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how often you are getting that sweaty where, your hair's going to fall. Maybe have a couple of hairstyles that you can do on wet hair. Maybe like milkmaid braids, or just, twists, depending on, how often you like to wash your hair. So yeah, unfortunately, there's really no magic solution to that. And, to be quite honest, if you look at any of the, old magazines, yes, women worked out. Yes, they had a fitness routine, but it was not extensive. It wasn't, they weren't overexerting themselves generally to the point where they're sweating a lot. So, yeah, it just sometimes it just doesn't work with vintage hair. And I'm sorry about that. Turbans are good, wearing a headscarf. Yeah. So I wish I had a better option for you, but unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to read a few more comments. Oh, okay. Where are we? Okay. Oh, Vanessa, I'm so glad that you you love the vintage community on YouTube. Yes, sometimes it's nice to just get away and have some wonderful, wonderful things. Okay, so do you change clothes to workout clothes when you are outdoors? Yes. If I'm working out, if I'm taking Mildred on like a walk where we're like walking up to the park and we're doing all of that, yes, I have kind of looser, I hate tight clothing, so I never wear yoga pants or anything like that. I have a couple pairs of these like looser pants, and then just a t-shirt. So yeah, I will wear that if I'm working out, if I'm taking her on longer walks. When I take her on our normal, just, throughout the day walks, I just wear my dresses. I wear, my regular outfits. I do have tennis shoes though, like slip-on tennis shoes that I wear because I have plantar fasciitis and I need to have comfortable shoes when I'm walking around. So, but yeah, I do have, I guess a variation. I mean, they're workout clothes to me, but they're probably not your typical workout clothes. Like I said, they're not like yoga pants or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Okay, yeah, people talking about comments from people. Oh, do you think you're better than everyone else? Why do you always have to overdo it? Yeah, just because I'm wearing, a matching outfit. Yes, there's definitely, especially in, this day and age where casual wear has gone uber casual. It's I find it funny when people talk about wearing a dress and how it's so dressy, and I'm like, it is the laziest garment I can think of. Because it's one thing. I don't have to think about matching anything. It is one garment and I'm done. To me, it's just the absolute laziest thing. And I'm much more comfortable in a dress than I am in trousers. So yeah, I find that hilarious when people, make fun of wearing a dress and how dressy it is. So, and yeah, you're right. When someone, spits negativity at you, it's just a reflection on themselves, not you. Absolutely. There's clearly something going on in their life that they can't look at something that is objectively attractive and pretty and think, oh, that's really nice. Like, there's no reason in the world why you wouldn't think that. It may not be your style. It happens to me all the time. I see people out and about here and I'm like, that's not my style, but they look really good. And it doesn't cost anything to be kind, even in your thoughts, and so yeah, it's much more of a reflection of them than it is on you. Okay, so yes, dresses are very lazy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, Mike. Okay, so you've been recommending my channel to your dancers. Can you give an overview of what your channel has to offer to the new viewers? Yes, of course. And it's I mean, it's kind of ever evolving, but yes, it's generally just, vintage style, which is fashion, beauty, lifestyle. I like to do a little bit of history. I'm very much getting into more of the home economics and learning about the wonderful women of the home economics movement. I have a couple of videos that I'm working on right now, learning about how actually incredibly progressive and feminist the home economics movement was. It's quite surprising. So yeah, I mean, anything I love. I do vintage hauls. I do flea market videos. Pretty much anything under the vintage realm, whether it's fashion, beauty, lifestyle, home decor, anything like that. So I probably should, I don't know, niche down even more, but I have such an eclectic mind and I'm constantly, I'm so interested in so many different things that I can't really pin it pin it down. It's just really under the vintage umbrella, really. And I also do, I try to do as much as I can on plus size vintage, showing women how they can dress as a plus size woman in vintage, because that's why I started my blog to begin with, was to show that yes, we too can dress in vintage and look amazing and feel amazing. So yeah, yes, that's the secret history of home economics. That is the book that I'm basically going to review. That's what my video is about. It is amazing. Highly recommend it. You're gonna love it. Um, oh, Marilyn, my German speaking. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm still getting by. I still don't know if I could have a full conversation yet. Uh, but yeah, I do want to get better. I did a full intensive course that was 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, for 4 weeks. And it was insane. I did try to go on to the next level, but they didn't have that available in person. It was only available online. And I really, really struggled with the format of it. So probably in the fall, I'm going to go back and do the next level in person. I just do much better with an actual teacher in person. So I am excited about that. And of course, I will be also continuing my French lessons because, as I'm sure you guys know, we will be moving to France for our retirement. It's still like 9 years away. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere soon. But I want to be able to be as proficient as possible when we get there. So yeah, I'm still, honestly, Vienna is a really hard place because everybody speaks English here and they do get a little frustrated when you try to speak German. They don't, they just switch over to English. And so it is, it's hard. It's hard to find people who are willing to, to give you the time and the energy to mess up and to say what you need to say. And yeah, so it can be a little frustrating, definitely, but I feel like I'm okay. I feel like I'm comfortable enough, but yeah. So okay, so we have a personal question regarding clothing. So summers here are so humid, and I do love dresses. But what do you think about the thigh friction? Yes, I have tried monkey butt. Oh, yeah, my mom loved that. And bike shorts. Okay. I talk about this in one of my summer videos a while ago. I do, even in the wintertime, I don't wear a dress without wearing slip shorts. So they are they're slip material, so they're really nice and comfortable. They're looser, and they have, the ones that I get have, they're quite long. They go almost past the knee, like the lace part. But I think they're called like snippets or something like that. So you can cut the lace part to like the length that you want. So my dresses are very rarely, like, they don't go above my knee at all. So if you cut it to like the shortest length of the lace, it sits right above the knee. So, and I get them in black and kind of a cream, like nude color, white person nude color. And I love them. They are super comfortable. They're not tight. I don't like bike shorts because they're really tight. And then they're basically like wearing a slip. So they have that, they give your dress the free form of movement. If you go to my favorites list, you'll find them in there. Absolutely love them. And they save my thighs wonderfully. But yeah, I don't, I used to wear bike shorts. I used to wear, stuff like that. But these slip shorts, that's what I wear every day with my dresses. I love them. All right. So what else do we have? Yeah. So Jane, the bandelettes, the lace bands for your thighs, I don't like those because they are, well, first of all, it's just a band around your thigh. So I know for myself, like, my thighs are different sizes as it goes up and down. And so even though they have the silicone, they roll down. And because they are, because they're lace, they rub together on that lace, and that actually, for me, it caused chafing. So the slip shorts are like nylon, or not nylon, I don't know what they are. I'm sure they're not natural fibers, but they are so much more comfortable. They don't allow for that friction at all. So yeah, I personally didn't like the bandelettes at all. And plus, I know it's a texture thing too, like having just that small band around your leg. So having, like, feeling the dress on one part and then having the band and then feeling the dress on the next part. It was a really weird feeling for me. I didn't like those. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yes. Oh, so okay. So slip dresses in bigger size. So I've always, I don't know a lot of the German shops, but I would like, does it Kaufman, I think I found a few at Kaufman. But honestly, I didn't really buy a whole lot when I lived in Germany because I had them already. But you can always try eBay or Etsy. I have found a lot of slips in plus sizes on eBay and Etsy. In the States, we would just go to Sears or JCPenney. Like, those are kind of like the basic department store. I don't even know if those even still around. I think they closed. But yeah, I have found some beautiful vintage slips on eBay in my size, and I think you're smaller than me, Marilyn, so I think you would be able to find them. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Oh. Oh, good. I'm glad you can get into the chat now. Sorry. I know this, I feel so random, just like looking at these comments, and it feels very weird too. So Sears is gone and pennies still exist. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, kind of. Sears was huge. Obviously, I have several Sears catalogs that are massive, and gosh, what I would do for some of those items in that catalog. Gosh. So, okay, let's see. Let me find other questions. I get this question a lot, and I've answered it multiple times, but I will answer it again. Does your husband sometimes dress vintage to match you? So yes, sometimes he's definitely doesn't have the wardrobe that I have. But on the weekends, if we're going somewhere, you know, then yeah, he'll dress in a more vintage style. His work just doesn't really allow for it. So, and hasn't for a really long time. So he never dressed vintage every day at work or anything like that. But he loves vintage. He loves vintage style. And I think he would, want to wear more of vintage style. But yeah, we don't. He's a bigger guy, the way that I'm a bigger gal, and it's harder to find men's plus size. But I'm looking to get a sewing machine. If anybody has recommendations of a good sewing machine that I can get as a first time sewist, and I'd like to start making him a few things, even just shirts and everything like that. So yeah, I definitely think that he would wear more often if we had the opportunity to do so. Yeah. So how do residents of different countries react to your fashion? Well, I'll talk a little bit about here in Vienna, and then I'll talk about Germany. So strangely enough, I don't really get looked at here a lot. I've not had any negative reactions whatsoever by anybody. I've definitely had some positives. I've had, there's a lot of the older generation here still has like their fashion from when they were younger. So, men and women still have a very kind of traditional look to them. And, older men will kind of tip their hat to me. Older women will smile and, nod. And, I've definitely have had people just, run up to me and speaking in German, and I can understand what they're saying, and I know where they're going with it, but sometimes it's like, oh goodness, okay, yes, thank you. So yeah, I've had nothing but positive or just neutral here in Vienna. Germany, different story. Not really bad so much, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the German stare. I'm sure, Marilyn, you know what I'm talking about. And I still don't know whether it comes from just confusion or if there's some nefarious, anything that's coming from it. But it's literally just this like dead stare and not moving. And it's, it's really unnerving. But I do find here and in Germany, there is a little bit of that kind of resistance to nonconformity. But I do find here in Vienna in particular, I imagine outside of Vienna in in other parts of Austria, I might get a little bit more pushback, but it's so multicultural here. There's people from everywhere. And of course, I lived in a really, really, really small village in Germany. So I stood out like a sore thumb, definitely. But again, no negativity. I never really had I didn't have anybody say horrible things or anything like that. It was just kind of more of this like, kind of look, if it wasn't just the deadpan stare. And, living in the US, pretty much everywhere I went, same kind of thing, got stared at a lot. I have never, in my entire time of dressing in vintage, I have never had anybody in person say anything horrible to me. No strangers on the street. I've had only positive, good, comments. I've had people ask really weird questions like, are you in a play? Why are you so dressed up? But it really wasn't coming from anything negative or anything like that. Online, totally different story. I've definitely had people say awful things to me online. But in person, no, I've never had anybody say anything negative to me. So, it's, I've had good experiences in every place that I've lived. So, okay. So Mike wants to know, do I frequent any vintage dance events? I used to a lot. I used to swing dance a lot when I was younger. But after 2 back surgeries and 3 knee surgeries, and I'm almost 50, I can't dance anymore. But I would love to go to, just to hang out with people and see how things are going. I just went to a small little summer soiree where there was dancing, and also there was a burlesque show, and there was other kinds of acts that were there. So anytime I hear about vintage events in general, I'm very much interested in going. I think that the things that I'm not interested in rockabilly, and anything that is like exclusively pinup, because those are not my scene. So if it's specifically like that, I wouldn't go. But yeah, I would love to go to more events. I don't know of many that are here in Vienna. I know that there are some, across Europe. But yeah, if I hear any, I'll let y'all know. Okay, let's see. Okay, FAF sewing machine. Ooh, I've never heard of that. I'm going to write that down. Oh, I love that. You hired a neighbor to work on your Spanish with you. Yes, I know. I do need to find a native speaker that I can work with. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Is my hubby no, he's American, just like me. He's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we are here for his job. He works for the IAEA, which is an agency with the United Nations. The IAEA is the International Atomic Energy Agency. So he's a smart cookie. Yeah, he works with nuclear health physics and all that fun stuff. So that's why we were here. Yes, he got the job in 2023. Yeah, we moved in 2023, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's why we are here, and I love it. Okay. All right. Hello, Elizabeth. Nice to see you. I love that oh, yay. Let's see. Originally, I am from San Diego, California. But I have not lived there since we moved out of California in 2005. Oh my gosh, 20 years. Yeah. So we've lived in North Carolina, Baltimore, Maryland, moved to Germany, Kusel, Germany, near Kaiserslautern, moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, then moved to Washington, D.C., or Alexandria, Virginia, and then just moved here to Vienna. So yeah, we've had a lot of moving, but we are here for a good while. We're here for at least 7 years, hopefully 9. We hope that we can extend it out to right to where my husband will retire. And that way we don't have to, go back and forth. But we do plan on, buying a house in France in the next 4 or 5 years or so. And then that's where we're going to retire. So yes. Okay. Oh, you guys are having so many wonderful chats in here. Oh, Jean, you saw me a few years back at Ramstein Air Base. That was possible. We lived there from 2015 to 2019. So if it was in that time period, it's very possible because yes, we lived in Kusel, which, is in the Kaiserslautern area. Oh, you live in Neunkirchen. I love that area. Yeah, Pottsburg is fantastic. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that probably was me. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yes, I did have a business. I had my massage business. I had a massage practice in my house in Kusel. That's so funny. Okay. Do you think historical context of the 1930s and 40s for Germany added to their questioning your style? Probably. Absolutely. For lots of reasons. I mean, obviously the reminder of it is definitely there, but also during that time period, austerity was celebrated. And, even going after the war, it was, I wear makeup, I wear red lipstick. I'm, even just dressing in vintage, it's above and beyond that. I'm flashier. I'm the Glambassador. So I don't fit into even what the women of that time period looked like in Germany. So yeah, I definitely think that that has to do with it. And I don't really know. I think Vienna was a little bit more cosmopolitan during that time period. Even though they had their own issues here. But yeah, I don't feel that same thing here in Vienna that I did in Germany. But yeah, I agree. I think that definitely had something to do with it. So I'm not coming back to Ramstein. I'm sorry. My husband no longer works for the U.S. government. So yeah, no, we're done. Although we were just there. We on our way back from France, we drove through Kaiserslautern, and we spent the afternoon there and kind of went to some of our old haunts. And we do talk about it. I think I would move back to Kusel. I really like that area a lot. I loved our house. I loved our village. Yeah. If some reason France doesn't work out, there's a possibility. Definitely. Um, oh, wonderful. We have somebody from Prague. I haven't been to Prague yet. It is on our list. I know we're super close, so I feel bad for not going yet, but I really want to go. Have you chosen yet where in France? No, I just did a video on our first. So we're going to start doing little scouting trips. So we were in the Charente and Haute-Vienne, and like up near Tours and Amboise. We kind of went around Poitiers, Angoulême, bunch of different areas in there. So no, we're going to be checking out different areas for the next couple of years before we settle on anything. Although right now, the area around Tours is high on our list. Love, 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 love that area. But no, we have not settled on anything yet. So, you know, if you want to see some of the footage of our France trip, definitely go watch that video. And there will be more. So we're going to try to make a 2 to 3 week scouting trip at least every year, if not twice a year. So we can check everything out. So yeah. Let's see. No, Will does not retire for another 9 years. So we've got time. We have plenty of time to start, to keep looking. And yeah, no, I wish it was now. I'd like to have him home more, but has it been difficult being away from family? This is going to sound awful, but no. So I don't have any family left, really. My parents are dead. Several of my siblings are dead. The other siblings I am actually estranged from. So I don't really have much family. Will's mother comes to visit us pretty often. She still lives in Pittsburgh, and she'll come and she'll stay for a month or 6-8 weeks sometimes. So she gets to experience Europe and all kinds of new places, and we get to spend time with her. So yeah, I know it sounds really awful, but I'm close with my cousins. My cousin is coming to visit in November, and yeah, they come visit us because they like where we live. They've come to us in Europe. They come to us when we lived in Hawaii. They come to Washington, D.C. So we do get to see some family, but we're incredibly happy and fortunate to be able to live in a different country. And so we're good. We're really happy with how everything has worked out for us. So okay. Oh, Elizabeth, you hope to live in France someday too. Yeah. Yes, the weather is a huge factor for us. In that video, I kind of go down like what our guidelines are for the places that we're looking, and weather is definitely on that. I'm not good with heat, so we are keeping kind of more central to north. I think southern France is just too much for us. Yeah. So, oh no, he has a way to go. Okay, what kind of trousers did women wear when they worked during the war? Were they denim? Sometimes, yes. it really depends on what so if you, denim back in that time was really strictly workwear. Denim didn't really become a like fashion item until really kind of the 50s into 60s. So denim was protective of if you were, working on anything that could spill on you or maybe had, sparks or anything like that. So yes, sometimes they were denim. It really depends on what the activity was. Twill was really a popular fabric as well, because again, it's kind of thicker. So yeah, it for workwear, twill, wool, denim, anything of that kind of thicker fabric would be what they would wear as with trousers. I think this question is for me. Will you be making your vintage dresses? I hope to. I hope to start making some of my own clothing. Yes, that's the plan. I have to find a sewing machine first. And learn. I mean, I kind of learned how to sew. I know the basics. I really just need to get in there and do it. So yeah. The top I'm wearing is very pretty. Oh, thank you. It's actually a dress, of course, because I always wear dresses. Pockets. It's an old Ishakti dress. R.I.P. Ishakti. So yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love it. I love the floral pattern. It's very spring and summery. I love it. Thank you so much. Let's see. How often do I do these live chats? This is my first one. I've never done this before. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, this is going really well. I'm honestly surprised. So I don't know. How often should I do these live chats? This is going to be my plug for my Patreon, of course. But for my Patreon, I do monthly Zoom meetups. We have a theme that my members choose. And so it's kind of a part class in a way, because I choose the theme and I write, a little bit about that theme. So, and then it's also just kind of a one-on-one. I get to see everybody. And so, we have a chat and discussion about said theme. So, so I do that with them once a month. But I, realized that I should probably do these more often. So I don't know. You tell me. I don't know how often I should do them. This is my first one. Let's see. Yeah, you don't want to live in Paris, but not completely in the boonies either. Honestly, the boonies are pretty spectacular in France. They're so different. Like the countryside is so different in France. It's still so much more connected than like in the US. In the boonies in the US, you are in the boonies, you are not connected to a lot of stuff. But yeah, I like the boonies and the countryside of France. It's kind of where we want to end up, but we'll see. Let's see. Yes, 2 pairs of high-waisted jeans, and you absolutely love them. Yeah, I have 1 pair. It's my only pair of jeans, and I do like them. They are very useful, and yeah. Yes, have passport, will travel. Jane, you better get your butt here at some point. You need to be here. You need to check out all of the beautiful Jugendstil, the Art Nouveau here. And yeah, I have a beautiful guest room waiting for you. What are your favorite vintage movies, books, or singers? Oh my goodness. You're not going to like this answer, but I'm not a huge vintage movie person, honestly. Vintage movies kind of irritate me sometimes. The acting is just so over the top on most of them. I grew up with musicals, like old musicals. My mother was a singer, she was an actress. And I grew up mostly with kind of vintage musicals. So that's, mostly what I grew up with. But yeah, my mom didn't really watch a lot of old movies, and I never really got into them. There's definitely some that I love simply for the fashion aspect, like The Women. I mean, you can just have that on in the background, and that is a fantastic movie for the fashion. So if I am going to watch an old movie, it's generally going to be with that in mind. I don't necessarily pay attention to the plot or to the acting because I don't know, there's something about it that just irritates me. But if I'm open to suggestions, if you have any movies that you absolutely think that I need to watch that might change my mind on things, I would love to hear that. So okay. Oh, Ella, yeah, your grandpa's saying he can't wear jeans when going out because they are work pants. Yes. Yeah, like that's really what they were. They weren't, fashion pants. They were strictly a workwear. And yeah, that wasn't generally worn outside of work. That's interesting. Um, do I know French and culture? Yes, I have been studying French for quite some time. I know enough to get by. Um, and definitely the culture. I've been obsessed and in love with the French culture and the people and the language for a really long time. Of course, there's always more to learn, which is why we really want to do these scouting trips to immerse ourselves in those specific regions so we get to really understand the culture and what is going on in that area. But I do plan on learning more. I'm planning on doing some immersive classes, or not really classes, where you go to France, you live with somebody for a couple of weeks and you do this like immersive course with them. And I really want to do that kind of as the years go on so I can get better at the conversational. So I speak a little bit of Spanish, German, and French. I'm really good at reading and writing it, but I do have difficulty with the conversation part. I get nervous. I get, if it's with someone that's going to be patient with me, I'm much more comfortable. But I just need to get over that anxiety part and just, I feel like I've gotten better at it here where I'll just push through. Even if they start speaking English to me, I will continue speaking German. Just because I want to practice, I want to try. And but yeah, so the gîte that we stayed in France, the owner did not speak any English, and we got on just fine through my horrible amount of French, which was okay. And, kind of sign language type. And, we very rarely had to use like a translate, on our phones. But yeah, it all worked out just fine. And she was wonderful. She was very patient and, helpful and all of that. So I feel comfortable. Like I can order things. I can, have very, very short conversations with people, but I do want to get better. Yeah. Let's see. Mike says, we've been going on a series of vintage 1930s dance cruises. We all have to pack with 14 outfit changes. Oh my gosh. Wow, 14 outfit changes. That is a lot. Yeah, you need advice on packing and luggage. Yeah, I'm not a, I definitely don't, pack just with my carry-on. I check my baggage because I want to make sure that I have everything with me. Someone had asked about traveling with hats too. And to be honest, if I'm flying, I will I will always bring anything that can be smashed down and crushed. So whether that's berets, I have a couple of these really awesome 1930s. What is the brand name? It's a type of plastic or a type of elastic. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head now. Anyway, it completely just lays flat. So, and I have a couple of these other like felt hats that can be crushed and then they'll, you just kind of maybe steam them a little bit and then they come back to life. But yeah, I don't travel with any hat boxes if I'm going on planes. If I'm going by car or by train, I'll just bring a hat box and I'll try to fit in as many as I possibly can. But yeah, unfortunately, traveling with vintage and all of the accessories that vintage comes with can definitely be a challenge. I can see that. And I can't imagine 14 different outfit changes. That's a lot. Let's see. I know you have amazing clothing, jewelry, hats, but is there a special piece that you're still trying to find to add to your collections? Somebody kind of asked this question, and I didn't really have an answer a while back, but I think I have an answer now. I really want, and I don't know what they're called. Jane, you might be able to answer this for me, but I would love one of those like 1930s. They're like long coats. Sometimes they have like the fringe. They look like a piano shawl, but in a long duster kind of coat type of thing. I know I don't wear a lot of 20s stuff, but I don't know. I think I would rock one of those. I love those. I am always, always, always on the lookout for a 40s suit, like a suit jacket and a skirt in my size, which I don't know if that's going to be an option. I'd love to be able to make one, to be honest, in, using some sort of vintage pattern, but I don't know if I can, if I'll be able to learn enough to make something like that. But yeah, I think those kind of two things would be fantastic to find. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have? Yes, my mom was a pretty substantially amazing woman. She was an actress. After my father died, she started dating this man. His name was Dan Greenway, and he was the makeup artist for Warner Brothers Studios for like 36 years. And he was amazing. He had so many amazing stories, and that was just really, really fun to have him around for a while. And they just fit so well together. So yeah, my mom was fantastic. Let's see. Yeah, explaining my family constellation is very complicated. Yeah, very much. My family is very complicated. Okay. Okay, so I wasn't here earlier, but did you say you drive to France, or were you taking public transportation for your scouting trips? We drove. So we don't have a car here in Vienna, but we rented a vehicle. It was a 2-week road trip. So we drove from Vienna all the way to, we stayed in this little town called Chaulnes in the Charente. And so we kind of took a little bit of the southern route to get there, and then a little bit northern so we could come through Kaiserslautern and see our old haunts and come back around. So I think we'll probably continue to drive just because we want to stay in smaller areas, and you definitely need a car in order to do that. Mildred went with us, our little pug. She is sleeping right here if you hear that snoring. And it was just, we had such a great time. We really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think we'll probably continue to drive. If we do something different, we'll take the train to where we want to go and then maybe rent a car from there and then have the car around and then take the train home. But our next scouting trip is going to be Brittany and Normandy, so we'll probably drive there again. We've been there multiple times to Normandy. We've been to the D-Day commemorations. Haven't really spent a ton of time in Brittany, so we do want to spend a little bit more time there. So that will be fun. Okay. Brooches are an essential part of my wardrobe. My favorite are Ursula. Yes, brooches are essential. I'm not wearing one today, sorry. But yes, I love brooches. And they're such a great thing because you can find them everywhere. You can find them at vintage stores and, antique stores, flea markets, estate sales. And they're generally, pretty cheap in most respects. And they add just so much to your outfit. They're really fantastic. I love them. Let's see. A 40 suit usually had shoulder pads, a flared skirt, a peplum. Yes, I would love to have a 40 suit. Yeah, hopefully someday I'll find one. Okay, I'm gonna look at one other. Oh, this is a rough one. This is going to be a big one. What advice would you give someone who is just starting out dressing 1940s? Wow, that's big. So I think my biggest thing is to really understand who you are, understand your body, understand what silhouettes you love and what makes you feel strong, empowered, and beautiful. Because there's a huge range. The 1940s has such a massive range because of, during the war, after the war, and, all of these changes that were going on in fashion. If you look at the styles in, the beginning of the decade versus towards the end of the decade, you see a really big change in styles. So saying that, you want to dress in 40s, you can easily go that whole decade, the whole gamut. But, if you want to stick with one, like pre-war, during the war or after war, you can go along with that as well. Gather as much visual information as you can. Look at catalogs, look at old ads, look at, video. We have videos, we have photographs, we have all of that. Look at as much like real people style, real people fashion. that will give you a more of a sense of, what actual people were wearing and what they actually looked like. Kind of similar to what I had talked about before with learning a few hairstyles that are, like 2 to 3 hairstyles that are in your basket that that you can go to. It's funny because I don't always dress as era not era appropriate is not the right word, but I mix eras a lot in my wardrobe. And I do wear a lot of reproduction. I don't wear a lot of true vintage. But I stick era accurate. Thank you very much. That's the word. But with my hair, I am very much with the authentic. I want that authentic hairstyle. And that's where I try to keep my focus when it comes to a specific era but it's weird because I don't always match what I'm wearing to my hair. But I had mentioned before, I'm not really into pinup or into rockabilly. And it's mostly because those aren't era accurate looks, really. And so, okay, yeah, as you say, victory rolls are probably the easiest to start with. Totally disagree on that. Absolutely disagree on that. For many reasons. Victory rolls are not actually very easy to do. And they're not era appropriate or era accurate. Especially the way that we see victory rolls in most looks. They are very much exaggerated. And if you think about it, like the pinup look is an exaggeration of a very, very, very specific, highly stylized, highly sexualized look that only pinups wore. People in general did not wear that look on day to day. So it's not very era accurate, to be honest. And I think for most people, they do find them very, very difficult. It tends to be that one hairstyle that everybody wants to do because it is so ubiquitous with this like vintage style or the pinup style. And so everybody wants to do that. And I get it. I mean, I did too when I was younger. But they're not easy. They really aren't. I mean, if you find them easy, I commend you that you can do them. And yeah, they are more Hollywood and pinup oriented. Absolutely. They're not as historically accurate for everyday women, definitely. And do I have a Pinterest page? Yes, I do. I used to be very, very active on Pinterest. I don't anymore. But yes. And okay, does one need to use hair rats to make victory rolls? You don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. But if you have thinner hair, if you, they help when you are just starting to learn how to do victory rolls because they give the structure. But I do recommend making your own hair rats out of your own hair and making them as small as possible. But you don't have to. I mean, that's generally not the way that they were made was with hair rats. Gibson roll. I love a Gibson roll. And if you guys have seen my Gibson roll tutorial, I have like that. I cut one of those donuts, those synthetic donuts in half, so it lies flat. And then I sewed in wig clips on the side. So when you roll it up, you just attach the wig clips onto the side and it keeps them in. And I think for my Gibson rolls, I really use like 1 or 2 bobby pins because it just clips right in. So easy, so much easier. Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to perfect my page boy and a curlier everyday kind of style. Yes, page boys are really, very classic style. That is one style that I cannot do on my hair because it is so curly. I just can't get that smooth page boy look. If I did have it, I had it done once. If you guys remember Miss Victory Violet, she was really big in, the vintage and kind of pinup scene for a while. She was in Paris. I met her at the Dita Von Teese show, and she contacted me the next day because her model, she was doing her workshop, one of her hair workshops, and her model had gotten sick and wasn't able to go. So she called me last minute and asked me if I could come and be the model. So she did a page boy on me, but basically like we straightened my hair, and then she she used the curling iron to do all the stuff. So had it done once in my life. That was probably the most amount of hairspray I've ever had in my hair. It was teased to hell and back and hairsprayed, and it was so crazy, but it looked lovely. It was wonderful, but I could never do that on a regular basis on my hair. Far too much. Yes. Okay, well, I'm out of questions on my end. Does anybody else have any questions that you would like me to answer? We have been doing this now for an hour and a half. That is amazing. I didn't expect to go this long, to be honest. But I am a talker. So does anybody have any questions you want to ask? I'm looking at the chats and I have no idea what these little symbols mean on everybody's thing. I'm learning so much with this. Okay, Jane, is there an era you're mostly going for? So I feel like the older I get, like the narrower my eras get. I've always been, like 30s and 40s is kind of my, but yeah, I mean, I have to figure it out myself, like what very specific era cut off in the 30s. Early 30s, not so much. Like more, I don't know, like 1936 to, like 1947. So I think that like 10-year, 10, 11-year period is probably my sweet spot. That's what I gravitate towards when I see something in a magazine or in a catalog or something. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it was within that era. Like, that's really what I go towards. I would love, I have this really weird aversion to the 1950s. And I really want to get over it. I really do, because it's not rooted in anything. It's not rooted in anything like logical. I think most of the 50s stuff that I think about when I think about a 50s look, it's that very like super kitschy, probably not even era specific, more retro look, polka dots, halter dresses. I think because of the rockabilly and maybe the pinup, kind of modern pinup type, I just have this immediate aversion to it. But when I look at catalogs, when I look at pictures of real women and what they looked like during that time, I'm like, I love this. And I don't know why I can't separate those two in my head for something. I need to work on that. I really do. So, okay, Jane, you're exclusively 1930 to 1936. I love that. And that's so perfectly you. I can totally see that. So I will pick up where you leave off. How about that? That works. I do like polka dots, but in a very specific way. I like small polka dots. I don't like big polka dots for some reason. But yeah, they have to be very particular when it comes to different polka dot kind of things. Oh, what can I do with butt length hair? Oh, I am not the gal for you. Yeah, Jane, you're going to have to take this one. I have no idea. My hair is like literally to my shoulders. I can't even begin to imagine what I could do with that long of hair. Generally in my hair group, we talk about this a lot. And, you know, I see people's comments and suggestions, and it's always like milkmaid braids, Gibson roll. It's always in some form bringing your hair up in an updo. So yeah, Jane has incredibly long hair. She's the best. I'm sorry, I'm not the best person for that. My lip color, yes, it is Maybelline. This is Pioneer. It's not showing as berry-y on here as it is, but it's a pretty like super berry color. But it's yeah, Maybelline Super Stay Lip Ink in Pioneer. Let's see. Remind people to hit the like button. Apparently, it helps this chat. Thank you. I don't know where the like button is, but if y'all want to hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. Thanks. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Samantha, I've been trying to incorporate more vintage style into my life, but I worry about being era specific. Stay within my comfort zone, but still feel good. Yeah, that, I mean, it's again, it's whatever you're comfortable with, but you know, I'm pretty eclectic with my tastes, with the things that I like. I don't have a problem with mixing my eras. The only time I will, you know, be very, very era specific is if I am doing some sort of reenactment, or if I'm going to an event that is era specific, then I will do my absolute best to stay era specific for that. But in my day-to-day life, I am not going to put that much pressure on myself. Just not. I like what I like. Nobody out in this world is going to know the difference if I'm wearing a 1930s hairstyle and a 1940s dress. And also, I mean, think about it. You know, hairstyles and dresses and all that stuff were worn. People didn't just stop wearing a certain style because that year ended. You know, we go through trends in modern days like every 6 months. And so, yeah, people don't wear those old things, those old 6-month-old trends. But that wasn't the case back then. Clothes were handed down. Clothes were constantly being used and reused. So, you know, there was definitely certain silhouettes that were more era specific. And then also, if you think about, especially during wartime, there were rations. You know, there were reasons for specific fabrics and specific silhouettes. So, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, don't put pressure. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to, you know, feel good. So yeah, don't worry too much about being era specific. You know, unless you're doing some sort of a reenactment or an event where, you know, it would be very anachronistic to switch up. Anna, you mean you don't love cherries and anchors? No, I like to eat cherries, but no, cherries and anchors, no thank you, on my dresses. Oh, thank you, Gemma. You think I'm fabulous. I appreciate that. What is my take on a lot of Gen Z dressing 60s on TikTok? I think it's fantastic. I love it. I mean, anytime that any sort of, historical garments or historical fashion is going to get some love, I'm all for it. I mean, it makes sense with, our generation being, more kind of 20s, 30s, 40s, and then the younger generation kind of moving forward. And this has always happened. I mean, we've seen the 80s does 40s, the 70s does 30s. This will always happen. And we need people to be shopping for vintage, whether that's our eras of vintage or 90s 2000s is vintage. I know nobody wants to hear that, but it is true. There's so much clothing out there that needs to be thrifted and reused, and I think it's great. I love it. I'd rather them be doing 60s than trying to buy up all the stuff that we want from the 30s to the 50s. So they can have the 60s. That's fine. Okay, so you like 40s-ish makeup, but I like glittery eyeshadow. Awesome. Wear it. If you love it, wear it. I have nothing against that. Yeah, the rockabilly was pretty popular in like the 80s and 90s. I was in my early 20s in the 90s, and yeah, very, very popular back then. Let's see. Very small polka dots are called pointel. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Thank you. I think the whole 50s was oversaturated. I say this as Viva Las Vegas attendee. Yes. Yeah, I've never been to Viva. It's never had an appeal to me. I think, again, because of that, strange aversion. And also it feels incredibly overwhelming. And it feels very cliquey, and I don't belong to any of those cliques. So I feel like I would be just kind of walking around by myself, but that's a whole other issue. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so glad that we helped your workout fly by. I hope it was a good one for you. Are we talking about my nail color that I need to redo? This is Essie Aperitif is what it's called. When I find a color, like, I stick to it. This is like the only color that I really ever wear. So yes, I love it. It's like the perfect red. It's not too dark. It's not too bright. I really like it. Let's see. Yes, it's your style rather than a costume. Totally agree. Eating cherries helps with sleep. They're also anti-inflammatory and high in antioxidants. When we were in France, the gîte that we stayed at had like 5 massive cherry trees right out front. So I was gorging on cherries. They are so good. And oh my God, it was wonderful. Can't say that I slept very well, but just because the bed was hard. But oh, it was so wonderful. Yes, I love it. Love it. Yeah, people saying they're dressing vintage 80s hurts you. I totally get that. It's really bothersome, and this started really when we were in Germany, is I would find these like vintage events and like clothing events or whatever they were doing. They call them kilo sales. So you just they're priced by the kilo. And so we would go to them, and they were all like 90s and 2000s clothing. And I got so mad. I actually did a video on the whole, like, what do we call vintage, like our type of vintage, because you know, especially on TikTok, you're always talking about, if you look at like the hashtag vintage, it's very difficult to actually find like our eras of people. It's mostly like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And the thing is they're not wrong. It's just, it's not what we are, you know, when I hear the word vintage, I do not think of that, mostly because I was alive during that time. But they're not wrong that it's vintage. It's just, yeah, it's just not our type of vintage. And honestly, like, I don't think we really ever came up with a term that, you know, maybe classic vintage or something like that, that kind of really defines these eras that we all love so much. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I'm so glad that you're enjoying this. I did not know how this was going to go. I felt really, really weird doing it, but I'm so glad. I'm enjoying it too. Let's organize a group of 40s people to crash Viva. How fun would that be? That would be hilarious. Be like, where are we? What era is this? What's going on? Oh, wow. Okay, what else do we have? Yeah, we'll be antiques soon. I hope to get to the point where I'm antiques. That's 100. I would love to get to that point. Is everyone on Christine's Facebook group? I don't know. Are you? The group has not been very active lately, I will say. It's been a little quiet. So if you're not on my vintage hair group, please do join. I would love to have you. Yeah, we do call it by the decade, you know, for the most part. And that, you know, when we're talking specifically, but I think in a general term, when we're talking about like we're wearing vintage, because we don't always just stick to one decade. Or I think the video that I did, it was specifically talking about how I had just joined TikTok and I was looking for other creators or other people that were in my vintage realm. And so I was using the hashtag vintage and I wasn't finding hardly anybody. And I mean, to be fair, probably a lot of people that, you know, within the vintage community weren't on TikTok yet. But I was just noticing it was mostly the, you know, the 80s, 90s kind of vintage. Yeah, so that's kind of what started it. I mean, when we're talking specifics, then of course we're gonna mention the actual era that we're looking for. If we're looking for like a 40s dress or a 50s dress or something like that. But I think, you know, just on a whole, even when we say the vintage community, in my mind, when I hear that, that's this and that's this era. You know, somebody who's in the vintage community that primarily wears 70s, 80s, or 90s wear isn't going to get out of what we have to offer. It's not going to be the same community. So I guess that's why, you know, trying to think of maybe a different term, but yeah. How do you get lipstick to stay on and not smudge? What color do you wear? The Maybelline Superstay lip ink, that's what this is. This is the color Pioneer. This stuff is like incredibly long lasting. I put this on this morning and I have not, and I've eaten tacos for lunch. And well, dinner, I'll call it. It was a late lunch. And I haven't touched it up at all. So the Maybelline Superstay, I did a whole series of my favorite lipsticks and they're all like long wearing, like long lasting lipsticks. The L'Oreal Infallible is another like liquid. I started wearing those during COVID because I still wanted to wear my lipstick even though I was wearing a mask, but I hated it rubbing off of, onto the mask. So I was looking for kind of smudge proof lipsticks. And that's basically where that series came from because wearing masks, I don't like my lipstick to smudge. So definitely check out that series. But yeah, the Maybelline Superstay and the L'Oreal Infallible. I have a Fenty one on there that I really like. And there's a NARS color. It's there, and they're all liquid, but they dry down matte. And yeah, I love that. Let's see. Oh, Lindy Hop to Rockabilly Music. Really? I don't think I've ever seen that, but yeah, I can see that happening. You know what I always found interesting when I was younger and I was a swing dancer. The people who would go to like major swing events never dressed in vintage. And even today, if you go to some of these larger swing dance events, like it's very rare to have people dressing in the era, which I always found really interesting that, if you love the music so much and the dance, like I kind of feel like the fashion would kind of, would just follow with it. I mean, for me, the fashion led to my love of the swing music and the dancing and all of that stuff. So, I would dress in vintage and I would go to these swing dance events and people are just wearing, their jeans and t-shirts and regular, clothing. So I always found that really, really fascinating. Yeah. So, is there a similar color to Essie Aperitif? I just checked and it's discontinued. Oh, please don't tell me that. I just bought some. Oh no. I don't know. You've just broken my heart. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on that. I just bought a new bottle. That's going to really make me sad because I love that color. I'll have to figure it out and somehow I'll let you know if I find something. Yeah, World War II era is a good way to, but again, that's getting very era specific. It's not necessarily the general term. Oh, okay. Elizabeth says that aperitif is still available in the EU, and I am in Vienna. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Yeah, I'll look for another color and see if I can find something for you. Let's see. I don't dress vintage, but I appreciate the community of women who do. I love the different decades through pop culture, movies, etc. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many ways to love vintage and live vintage. I know people who collect vintage antiques and housewares, but they don't dress vintage, and vice versa. So yeah, there's so many different ways that we love it, and it's a part of our lives. Have you considered Discord as a newer community space? No. I've never been on Discord. I started my Patreon as my community space, and I really love it. Through my Patreon, I also have a private Facebook group, but I don't know much about Discord, to be honest. I've never been on it. I don't know what it's like. But yeah, I don't know. I could look into it, I suppose. Honestly, I mean, if I did do that, I'd have to let go of something else because it becomes all too much. I'm on pretty much every single, social media platform, and it becomes a lot to maintain. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. What else do we have? What kind of music do I listen to? I am as eclectic in my musical taste as I am in everything else. I was born in 1976, so I grew up listening to 80s music, 90s music. It's where my heart is. So when I feel like I want to be happy, I love The Cure. I love Depeche Mode. I love the Smiths. I don't love Morrissey, but I love the music. um, but I also listen to jazz and swing music and classical. And one of my favorite things to listen to when I'm at my desk and I'm like writing and I need to just focus on that. There's a channel. There's two channels that I listen to. One's on YouTube and one's on like Amazon Music. But it's basically soundtracks for studying. I love soundtracks. They just make me happy because it's cinematic. It's sometimes classical. It's whatever. And then the other one on YouTube that I listen to is it's basically tavern. It's like a tavern that's shutting down for the night. So it sounds like you can hear kind of people eating on plates and, kind of very background music and very background talking. It's so weird. It's like a medieval tavern, something or other. And I love that. I don't know. It just feels very cozy. And it just kind of keeps me in a good headspace when I'm writing. But yeah, I'm pretty eclectic. I love hip hop and R&B. Not a huge rap or country person. But yeah, there's very few types of music that I would just absolutely turn off. I love music. Yeah. Let's see, what eye makeup do you recommend? I do the lash line and mascara, but even the waterproof stuff tends to fall under my eyes. So I usually have like this is a liquid liner, and it's the Stila All Day liquid liner. I really like that. And then I love gel eyeliners, and I think the one that I have is L'Oreal. And I really just kind of go into, like, I do a tight line. I don't do a lot of like liner up top. Today I did, because when I'm on camera on these things, if I don't, my eyes look really tiny. So I did a little bit more liner than I would normally do during the day, but I really like gel liner, and then I just do a tight line, and that seems to work pretty well for me. It doesn't get onto my lip, because I don't do any color on my lower lid or my lower lashes. That works really well. I think it's a L'Oreal, the gel eyeliner, and I usually wear just brown. This is black, but most of my eyeliners are brown. I don't know. It's a softer look. Let's see. La la la. Oh goodness. This chat, sometimes it just like pops everything up and then I lose my place. Lindy Hop dancers dress poorly in general. Aw, many wear jeans and ripped t-shirts. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. I'm not quite sure I understand that. Which blush do you use? It's very pretty. Thank you. It's called Blush Baby from MAC. And then I have a little bit just on the apples of my cheeks. It's called Sweet from Glow Skin Beauty. And it has a tiny little bit of a shimmer, and it's a little bit more peachy. So I just kind of put that just at the apples, but the rest of it is Blush Baby. It's just a really nice kind of neutral, kind of a warm pink, really. It's not too bright. It's not, yeah, I really like it. I thought that Discord was for online video gamers. I have no idea what it's for. I never really worked it. I never really understood it. Yes, yes, yes. Depeche Mode, huge fan, huge fan. I've seen them in concert so many times. I was actually at the 101 concert in Pasadena when they filmed it. So great. I love them. I hope that they are going to tour and we'll get to see them here when we're in Europe. But okay, Mike. So my my Patreon, if you go into, I don't know where you can find it here. I'll try to post it in this chat, I guess. But if you go to my like the details of this live, there's links in there that'll show you all of the information. But I will, obviously I can barely do two things at one time. So let me see if this works. Oh God. Okay. That's too long of a link. There we go. I hope that works. Anyway, thank you. Okay. You can tell that we're almost the same age. Yes, yes. Oh, you're going to Robbie Williams. I was never really into him so much, but I am American and we didn't really get him so much in the States. So, but I hope you have a fantastic time. That should be really, really fun. Nemo's Dreamscape is a similar channel of quiet background. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I posted in one of my patrons had talked about like an oldies channel on YouTube. And I have listened to that too. It's kind of cool. I especially love the ones that like it sounds like it's coming from like another room. So it just, I don't know, it's kind of very seamless in your environment. I really like that. Let's see. Lo-fi music, absolutely. Yes. Doesn't Vienna have summer outdoor music events? They do. They have a lot. Yeah, Philharmonic. We haven't been to one yet. The two that we were planning on going got rained out. So yeah. It gets, the weather in Vienna this summer has actually been, I'm crossing my fingers, crossing my toes, has been pretty spectacular. We had a really, really, really hot, like 2 weeks, where it was like in the 90s and really, really hot. We had to pull out our air conditioning and, but it's been fantastic lately. We've been able to have the windows open. We did have a good like week and a half of like rain. So, but yes, I do want to do a lot more music. I mean, there's so much music here. It's ridiculous. And there's so much free music there. It's fantastic. So yes, I definitely want to do more of that. They have, I don't know when or if it's coming back, but they have like a John Williams and a Hans Zimmer kind of Philharmonic type of thing with soundtrack music, and that's definitely what I want to do. And I think they do it at like Schönbrunn, which is spectacularly gorgeous. It's the summer palace of the Habsburg. So that would be really, really fun. I would love that. So, okay. I don't think I have any more questions, and it's getting a little late. So I think if you guys don't have any more questions, we might end this soon. But I have had such a great time. Thank you all so much for being here. So let me know, or just really quick in the chat. I know Mike had asked like how often I do this. Is this something that you want to do on a regular basis? And if so, what would be, how often? How often would you like to do something like this? And I know we didn't really stick too much to the theme as much as I thought, but that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. So yeah. Okay. Yes. And monthly. Okay. Got it. Once a season. That's good. Yes. And yeah, I mean, again, I know I'm kind of plugging my Patreon, but you know, we do this kind of, you know, we do this once a month. I usually do it on Sundays around this time, because I do have a lot of like US people. And there's other benefits of joining my Patreon. Of course, you get a little bit more, you know, behind the scenes. With my series, I do a companion guide and has all kinds of really fun, cool stuff in there. I do scans of some vintage magazines, and you get a flip book scan of that. Sometimes you get early access to some of my videos, and you get to choose what some videos that I am doing next. So there's all kinds of, you know, kind of fun stuff too. If you want to do something more to help support me, I very much appreciate it. But so, okay. Yeah. Once a month, once every 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know if I could do that. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a fan for so long. I appreciate that. Once a month, every other month. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely, we'll do this again. This has really been fun. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Sunday's not so good. Okay, yeah, I know it can be hard sometimes. The one thing that I do with my patrons, though, is that I always put out I put out a poll, so they choose the theme for that month, and then they also choose the date. So I give them like a list of dates that I'm available, and it just kind of so happens that Sundays tend to be the one that is chosen. But yeah, so awesome. Well, thank you so much. Oh, and if you missed this, there will be the replay. You'll be able to watch the replay if you missed any part of this at all. And there was a technical difficulty in the beginning. I did lose connection, but hopefully it will all work itself out. But yes, you can watch the replay, even if you watch the whole thing and you want to watch it again. If there's a certain part that you wanted to see or answer, you can, you can do that. So thank you all so very much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your evening, afternoon, morning, whatever time it is. We had so many people from so many wonderful places. So thank you so very much. Yes, no, of course I will never forget you in the US. I'm from there, so. And the majority of my viewers here on YouTube are from the US. So I definitely keep you guys in mind. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And we'll do this again very soon. All right. Bye, guys.